Welcome back to another episode of How to Train, tips and tricks for your gym workouts. I'm Barry Stephen, an experienced PT and gym owner, and in this series we'll be diving deep into the world of fitness, sharing insights and providing valuable tips to help you elevate your gym game. Whether just starting your fitness journey or a seasoned gym goer looking to take your workouts to the next level, this vlog is for you. Join me as we explore various training methods, movement variations, and lifting techniques that will not only improve your strength and performance, but also help you make the most of your time in the gym. Throughout this series, I'll be sharing my own workouts, demonstrating proper form and technique, and providing on-point guidance on how to execute exercises effectively. So get ready to break a sweat, challenge yourself, and unlock your full potential, as this vlog is here to support and guide you every step of the way. Welcome back, guys. Episode 2. Really pleased you're here. Thanks for tuning in episode 1. I'm just having a little coffee, a little pre-workout. Always have a little bit of caffeine just before I train. Just perks me up a little bit, makes me feel a little bit more alert, a little bit more focused, a bit more energy before training. And for me, I just a double espresso does the trick. Looking forward to this session. I'm going to be training with my friend Danny, so I'll introduce him in a little bit. The main exercises today are going to be hack squat, neutral grip pull-ups, military press, so big 3 compounds to start off the session. Give you lots of little tips and tricks with those movements. Looking forward to that. And then we're going to do a couple of supersets, one for lower body and one for arms. And we will get to that later in the episodes.
Did you end up being your hoops?
We're going to do our first working set. I'll give you a couple of tips to think about when you're using the hack squat. We'll go over a few technical things in the next couple of sets, but just to get started, really important, you want to have a point of contact all the time with your heel, okay? So you never want your heel to rise when you're going through this exercise. Another point of contact is your hips. You never want your hips to come up either, and that's going to keep the exercise efficient and also safe. Third thing you could really consider is head position. You could have your head back in contact with the bench the whole time as well, which will just keep a nice neutral spine all the way through. Keep the heels planted, keep your hips back, and that's a good starting point. Good set. So that was 100 kilos, guys. We're going to go up to 110. The focus is going to be on controlling the reps, making sure we get good depth, and making sure that we get those last couple of reps. If you want to get the most out of the exercise, obviously the hack squat's working our legs, predominantly working our quadriceps, all right? So the main focus when we're using the hack squat is to hit these muscles here. We're going to hit them more efficiently if we have a foot position that allows a good amount of knee flexion, all right? So if I get my feet up quite high on the machine, I'm probably not going to get a lot of knee flexion when I'm at the bottom of that rep. If I get my feet narrow and back, I'm going to get loads more knee flexion and loads more recruitment of these muscles as I'm going through the repetitions. However, if I get to the bottom there and my heel lifts, it's not going to be as effective, and it's going to be a little bit unsafe as well. So I've got to try and figure out the best position for me where I can get as much knee flexion as I can, but also keep my heels in contact with the panel. So they just lifted a wee bit, so I'm going to go a bit further forward. There.
Grind out. Come on, then. Up.
Go on, Danny. That was a harder set than I thought it might be. Danny's doing well. Good control in the reps. Come on, Dan. Get those last few reps. If I was a really good training partner, I wouldn't be sitting down. I would be right over there with him, but I know he's going to get these ones. This is just the second set. Come on, Danny. Good man. So, we've covered a couple of safety things like making sure you've got contact with the machine through your heels, your hips, potentially your head as well. A little bit about foot placement to get more tension through the quads, more knee flexion, not letting those heels rise. Another really important thing to sort of cover is depth and control, all right? So making sure you actually are getting enough depth. So when we're doing our reps, we're trying to get to the point where our calves and hamstrings sort of meet each other. So, you know, if you can see there, where if I lift my knee up, eventually my calf muscles touch my hamstrings. That means my hip is quite low in comparison to my knee. It's below the crease of my knee. Right, guys, we're going to do our last set, our last working set. We've done 3 working sets of 10 reps. We're built up to 110 kilograms. Last couple of pointers I want to make is, one is control. Making sure that you're always in control of the movement. So I've been trying to put in a little bit of a pause at the bottom so that there's no momentum, there's no bounce out of the bottom position. It's really, really controlled, really focused, really focusing on squeezing my quads as I push out, drive out, and getting that connection with my heels and my feet and pushing into the panel. And just keep it at a nice consistent speed. If anything, a little bit faster on the way up. Another thing we could do as well, although it will start to get more difficult in this last set with the extra load, is keep a slight bend at the knee at the top of the rep. That's going to make sure that you never rest in those muscles and you're keeping lots of tension on those muscles. If I think I need a bit of a rest, just a couple of seconds before I go into that next rep, I will lock out my knees and just keep my legs straight, just to get the pressure away from here for a couple of seconds. And then I'll go back into it, all right? So this is the last working set, so I really aiming to push as hard as I can on this exercise, on this set. And then last little thing is, the hack squat is quite a safe machine, all right? So even if I get to the bottom and I can't push out, I can just stop and roll out. It's not like a barbell squat where you've got a big heavy bar on your back and then you've got a bit of a situation of how you get away from that bar. If I can't lift this one, I can just stop and just roll out to the side, or if I had a spotter with me, they can help me up. So I'm feeling confident. I know the machine's going to support me and give me good stability. And yeah, let's see how we get on. I'll go again. One more. Oh, lightheaded. Really connect with it. Come on. Yes, Danny. Come on. Easy. Go again. Push, 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 push. Go again. Hit your 8. 2 more. All the way up, all the way up, all the way up. Come on, Danny. There's another one there. Minimum. Keep going, buddy. Up, up, up. You get one more. Go on. Go on, mate. And lift, and lift, and lift, and lift. Well done. Good set, mate. I also said it was 110, but it's not. It's 120. 25, 25, and 2 5s each side. How did that one feel?
Disgusting. Disgusting.
Good work, mate. You did well. The last thing, guys, and then we'll move from this hack squat. We've done 4 really, really good sets. Is you'll notice we've got bands on the back here. Okay. The bands are assisting us in slightly. Okay. So when we get to the bottom of that rep, the tension of the band is taking the tension off of the machine somewhat, and just allowing us a fraction of comfort at the bottom there on the knees. All right. So it's a little bit nicer on the knee joint, where we're at our sort of weakest position in the movement at the bottom, giving us a bit more stability there. As we push up to the top, the tension comes off the bands and we feel the full load of the weights at the top of the rep, which is pretty useful and pretty good, because as we're pushing out from the bottom and driving to the top, engaging our quads and squeezing those muscles, we feel them a bit more. All right, so we get a bit more of a feeling through the top of the rep. And at the bottom, we're getting a little bit of support, a little bit added support at the bottom. And that's it, really. That's how it works. Don't go too much with the bands that it's helping you too much. But there's enough there that it's giving us a little bit of support, but it's still very, very challenging. So hopefully the big man was happy with that. Right, guys, so we're going to do pull downs. I did say we're going to do pull-ups, but I thought maybe better for this video, just to give you more information, we'll cover pull downs, all right? And I'll do pull-ups in a specific video, how to do a pull-up, progressions, regressions, that sort of stuff. First up, what am I thinking about with this machine? Well, commonly you'll see a lot of people just get in and get going, and they've got gaps here, all right? We don't really want that. We want to be like firm against their, with any exercise, with a lot of exercises, especially machines and things like that, you want to create as much stability as you possibly can. So if there's a gap there, I've got a little bit less stability. So I'm going to just move that out of the way. I'm going to push that up so it's a good bit tighter, okay? And then I don't really want to be sort of back here either. I want to get myself right tucked into the machine, all right? So I'm locked in. I'm as locked in as I can be. So as I'm going through that movement, I'm not going anywhere. And this is giving me as much support and assistance as possible. There's various different handles you can use for pull downs. I'm going to use this one here. Initially, I'm going to break this down into 4 parts, and then I'm going to try and get it to be more fluent. All right, so first part, I always like to start in a straight line, a straight position, with my shoulders just a little bit elevated. And then from there, I will drive my shoulders back and down. So that's part 1. Part 2 is pulling the bar into your chest, driving those elbows down towards the floor with a little lean back. Part 3 is returning the bar, keeping your angle until it's about 2/3 of the way up, and then you're following the bar. And then part 4 is just letting your shoulders elevate one more time. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then just focusing on doing that as maybe a cleaner movement. One of the reasons I like doing it like that, as opposed to just going back to maybe like a 40-degree angle or so and holding that position and pulling from there, is that it relates quite closely to a pull-up and how a pull-up should feel and how a pull-up should look. And I'm just going to do a few reps just now just to basically show you how similar those two movements are. And by getting good at the lat pull-downs, you can almost use some of that strength and that knowledge and that skill from that movement and transfer it into pull-ups. There's obviously heaps more involved in being able to do a pull-up. I'll do 5 reps and just show you how similar it is to the lat pull-down. And another important thing to point out with both those movements and all the movements is control, all right? Control your speed, have a similar speed to your concentric and eccentric parts. Maybe a little bit faster on your concentric, so for example, pulling myself up, but just generally controlling the movements, definitely controlling those eccentric portions. So me lowering myself down and returning the bar to the top, that's me controlling the weights in the eccentric part, and that is really, really helpful for getting stronger. Last working set of lat pull downs, I'm actually going to change the bar up a little bit. I'm going to do underhand grip. Just wanted to show you guys me doing this movement with a different bar. I know you get a lot of people might not have those mag handles, for example. Even though I'm going underhand grip, previously I was neutral, I could also go overhand grip with this bar. The fundamentals are exactly the same, all right? The teaching points don't change, even though I've changed hand positions and grip, etc. So I'm going to do underhand grip. This is going to obviously recruit a little bit more muscle from the arm, the bicep and the forearm. So underhand grip, pull myself into the machine, get as tight as I possibly can, starting that nice long straight line. I'm going to pull the shoulder blades back and down, so I've got a really nice long neck. Another way to think about it is drive your shoulders back and down towards your back pockets. Then from there, I'm going to pull until the bar gets into my chest, little lean back. I'm going to hold it for a split second, slowly return. Once it's about 2/3 of the way up, I'm going to follow and then reach at the top. And we're going for 10 reps. Burning. So guys, third big movement is overhead presses. We're going to do a barbell overhead press, which is going to predominantly work the shoulders, but it's going to recruit muscles from all over your body, as is a big compound free weight movement. Now, not everybody is going to have the mobility to do this exercise. So if you have quite a lot of tension across your shoulders or your upper back muscles, potentially this is not going to be the most effective exercise for you to do to build strength and to build muscle, because you're going to struggle to get into the right shapes, and you're probably going to put unnecessary stress on areas like your lower back. If that is you, then you might be better suited doing an exercise like a high incline dumbbell chest press, or a high incline Arnold press with dumbbells, or even just something that allows you to press forward, like using a landmine, for example, either from the floor or standing. A little test you can do to see if your mobility is good enough to be able to do this exercise is go towards a wall, stand close to the wall. It doesn't have to be right against it with the feet. Have the feet just slightly in front, but make sure your hips and your shoulders and your head are back touching the wall. And then from there, I want you to bring your arms from there all the way back to the wall and then into this position here, okay? From there, can you press above your head without taking your elbow and your wrist off the wall? And pull it back down again. If you can press to the top, keeping your elbow and your wrist on the wall, there's a good chance you're going to be able to do this barbell overhead press nice and safely. If you can press all the way up to the top, but you arch your back and your chest pops out, and there's like a real big increase in the gap here at the back, there's probably a good chance you're going to struggle with that exercise when the bar is above your head, and it's probably going to cause a little bit unnecessary stress on these muscles here. So, assuming you have the right mobility to do this exercise, there's a couple of little pointers that I really want you to focus on. The main one I'll cover with my clients in the gym is when they're pressing, or when they start doing this exercise initially as a beginner, they'll often have their elbows behind the bar here. We don't want that, because if we could look at the angle of the forearm, it is pointing in that direction, okay? We want the elbow to be under the wrist at all times, all right? So I need to pull those elbows forward so that they become under the bar and under the wrist. And now the angle is vertical, we're pushing upwards, okay? So instead of being here and pushing that way, what will tend to happen is we would probably push forward first, and then once we've got halfway up, we'll change to this position at the top. It's a little bit inefficient because it's not the shortest distance from A to B, and it's going to take stress away from the muscles we want to work, and it's going to be super difficult once the weight is out in front of us. So drive those elbows forward underneath the bar so that you've got a nice straight forearm at the bottom of every single rep. Engage those core muscles. You should feel a little bit of tension through your core and also your glutes, okay? I'm keeping a little bend at my knee, and this is allowing me to have a real good feel of the floor with my feet. So there's a bit of tension going through my legs. Like we've said with other exercises, you want to have stability in the movement. So my stability is coming from the floor, through my feet, through my legs and into my core. So I've got to create as much stability as I possibly can. So slight bend at knee, driving my feet into the floor, engaging my core, engaging my glutes, driving those elbows forward so they're under the bar in a nice vertical position. And then I'm going to press up, keeping it really close to me, really close to my face, really close to my nose. As I pass and reach the top, I don't want to finish in a position where the stick is in front of me. I want to finish where it is over the middle of my head, all right? Okay, so from there to there, there to there. Let's give it a go. Come on, Danny boy. So, leg extensions. Unfortunately, we don't have back support for our leg extension. This is actually a prone ham curl with a wee leg extension add-on. Nevertheless, it's still a very effective bit of kit, and it can be very challenging. Danny's just going through his first working set. A wee bit higher, Danny, come on. Good man. Nice control. Wee bit heavy for the first set, was it?
A little bit. But talk more, I could chew.
Pass you over to Dan. A couple of things, guys. Now, I know an experienced lifter probably wouldn't get this one wrong, but it is something that I do cover with my guys quite a bit in classes, is that they'll set up and there's a gap here at the back of the knee. You obviously don't want that, okay? There's no support there for the knee joint and it's going to limit range of motion even more. So that knee's got to be back in against the pad. There's always got to be contact back there, all right? Just similar to what we said about the hack squat contact with the heels and the hips, you need contact with the back of the knee there. There is no back support, however, we have got these handles, so it's really important that I lock into these handles and keep nice and tight and strong in there, not sort of loose and sort of like low posture and a bit rounded there. I want to get up nice and tall, lock in with my arms, shoulders back, and make sure I've got as much stability here as I can create with those handles. This is quite a short range of motion on this bit of kit, so there's some benefits and negatives to that. The benefits are that it's really intense right from the get-go, and there does feel a lot of tension at the top of the rep. The negatives are that, you know, the range of motion is much shorter and we're not really training the full length of the quadricep. So we combat that by just creating a little bit more range through these two pads. Just doesn't give us as much as maybe some machines will, but it gives us a little bit more. Right guys, time to work hard with this. Last one. Something to point out, guys, is I'm trying to do this with minimal noise on that machine. There is a bit of noise there, but you quite often see people doing leg extensions where it looks a bit more like this. If you compare that to those two reps to one is working the muscles way harder, and you'll know exactly which one it is. So control, listen to the machine. If it's making a lot of noise, then you're probably not creating as much tension and control in the muscles and in the movement as you possibly could. You may have to reduce your weights, but yeah, form is king. So we're supersetting the leg extension with the leg curl. Obviously, leg curl is going to focus on the back of the thigh and hit the hamstrings through knee flexion. Two things to focus on this, really, really simple one. One, exactly the same as the leg extension. Control, listen to the machine, don't be slamming it, don't be banging it. Nice and easy, get full range of motion. And two, try and choose a weight that you can actually get the roller all the way up to your butt. Almost to the point where you feel like this muscle's about to cramp up. A lot of people stop a bit short of that and then they miss out on that part of the rep. So the range of motion becomes shorter and the strength gains and the muscle development, it becomes less. Oh. And I actually did feel a bit of cramp in the hamstrings. Try and get it all the way in, Danny. Good. Little pauses at the top if you can. It's good, mate. Good control. Last set, I'm actually going to go from pin 4 to pin 3. just because I didn't think I did that set as well as I could have done, and I was struggling a little bit to get to the last little portion of the rep. So sometimes you've got to go lighter, but by going lighter, I'll hopefully get a better set. Not the best, not the worst. So guys, we're going to do a little superset. We're going to do dumbbell tricep extensions, sometimes called dumbbell skull crushers, and an incline dumbbell curl. Okay, two of probably my favorite arm exercises, and I'm going to give you a couple little tips on how to do each one as efficiently as possible. Okay, so let's start with dumbbell tricep extensions. For the setup, first of all, normally we would have our head round about here if we were doing, say, presses. I want us to get to the very end of the bench, but obviously before we fall off the bench. I need your head to be in contact with the bench. I need there to be stability and also a nice straight line through the neck. So roughly round about there. That's going to allow us a little bit more space to move the dumbbell without it banging into the bench and reducing the range of motion. So utilize the length of the bench, get your head right to the very end. The second thing is, instead of setting up with a vertical line through the wrist, elbow and shoulder and working like this, I want us to take our arms to a slight angle, roughly about there. As soon as we take our arms from here to here, we're already working the tricep a little bit. Especially with load, you're going to feel the back of the arm starting to work, holding that angle, versus this angle, where it's more in a sort of resting position. Nothing wrong with this, it's still going to work the triceps. It's just going to be maybe a little bit less efficient and maybe a little bit easier. This one's going to work a bit more, and I can almost start to feel those muscles starting to work a little bit, holding the arm there. So take the dumbbells back a little bit. Then from there, you're going to try and keep this as fixed as possible. So that means that you don't want there to be any sort of forward movement, or maybe even any backward movement or sideways movement. You want to keep the elbow fixed and in position. Okay, so sometimes to get better at that, you could maybe drive your shoulders back and down into the bench and just engage your back muscles a little bit, and that might help with the stability. From there, you're going to take the dumbbells down towards your shoulders, back into that space behind us, and then in as much as you can. So you've really closed this angle here, and you've created as much of a stretch as you possibly can get here at the tricep. And then from there, we're going to engage those tricep muscles, and we're going to push and squeeze all the way back to the top. And when we get to the top, we're engaging those muscles as much as we can. So controlling the weight down, getting that stretch, and then push and squeeze. Trying to not go here and trying to not have too much movement at the elbows. So let's give that a go. So really try to keep that angle. Push and squeeze at the top, almost like I'm pushing up and back slightly as I get to the top. And it's getting harder and harder to hold that position at the top. My arms want to go forward. One more. And done. One of the key things I like about a dumbbell incline curl is that it can take our elbow behind our torso, all right, and create a much bigger stretch on the biceps at the start of the movement, at the bottom of the movement. It is putting us in a sort of disadvantaged position where we have to overcome more tension at the beginning of the rep. Therefore, it's making it more difficult, it's giving us more benefit, and it's allowing us to build more muscle in that area. It's also giving us a really good squeeze at the top. This is also a good position to work at, but if we take the bench back to this angle here, we're now going to have our elbows behind our torso, underneath our shoulder, and we're going to feel a much bigger stretch at the bottom, and the tension at the bottom is going to be greater. That might mean you can't lift as much weight as you would in this position, but it is going to develop the muscles in a slightly different way. What I would say is, and I've obviously tried this exercise at different angles, I find that, say you were at this angle here, I've never curled from this angle, but I have done bicep curls back here, and I just personally feel that there's too much stretch or there's too much strain on the elbow and the shoulder, and I tend to not use that angle as much, or if at all, to be honest with you, for dumbbell incline curls. So that's probably what, roughly 40, 45-ish degrees. This is a much better angle for me to work from, where I really feel the muscles working, but I feel I can keep a good posture, good positioning, and keep it safe. This is probably not given as much benefit as the angle below. All right, so set it up like that, and then from there, another useful little tip is positioning of the shoulders. If we just go back into the bench like so, we might find it difficult to externally rotate the dumbbells, to externally rotate our shoulders, open up our palms, and get those dumbbells facing forward. They might want to sort of roll in the way. And we don't want that. We want to open as much as possible so that we can contract and use these muscles as much as possible all the way through the rep. So my cue would be to, when you set up, bring your shoulder blades together. Think about externally rotating, turning all the way around, bringing your shoulder blades together, and then from there just bring your head up so it's in a nice comfortable position. Find it difficult getting into that position when my head is here, so initially I'll get my head back, almost pushing through my head, allowing a little bit of space behind my shoulders, externally rotate, bring my shoulder blades together, and open up the palms of my hands, keeping that tension in my upper back, bring my head off the bench. And then from there, I'm in a really good position, comfortable with my head position, and then I'm stable through my shoulders and my back muscles, and I'm getting a really good position to use and contract the biceps. So grab the dumbbells, head back, shoulder blades together, get your head in a good comfortable position, and then from there you're going to lift. And you want to keep those palms open all the way through. Temptation will be to do this at the bottom, which will take tension off, but then you've got to turn and open up again, and also it might make your shoulders want to roll forward as well. So let's do this exercise as best we possibly can. I'm trying to be as strict as possible by always going to a straight line at the bottom, full range of motion. It's okay to put your head back as well in this position once you've got into the shape you want to get into. I just prefer and feel more comfortable having it here. That for me is a better position than just say going back like this and working away like this, where you're not really stimulating the muscle quite as much. So guys, the last little tip with the incline dumbbell curls, or something I'm going to bring an emphasis to, is the position of the upper arm. Make sure that the position of the upper arm, the elbow to the shoulder, never moves. Okay, it just keeps that position all the way through the repetition. So for example, sometimes we might find that when we're getting tired, we'll drive those elbows forward like this. And as soon as we bring that elbow forward, one, we're out of the stretch position, so we're no longer working in the position we want to. But two, the tension in the muscle is not going to be as good. But we want to keep the upper arm fixed, and that applies for pretty much every bicep movement or tricep movement. Now it's starting to get really difficult, particularly on my left. I don't want to keep that upper arm as fixed as it was, but I'm going to try. One more. Really try not to drive that elbow forward. And we're done. Ooh. So little things like that do help you get more out of the movement. Lastly, when you're doing biceps, it's really common, and I do this quite a lot, and I try and teach myself not to do it, that as it's getting difficult, we'll squeeze the dumbbell with our hand. We'll really put a lot of force and effort in through the wrist and the hand on the dumbbell as we're curling. Instead of doing that, keep your hand and your wrist and your grip quite relaxed, and put all that tension and effort and squeeze into here. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. If you like this content, please let me know. Comment below so I can continue to make more videos and help more people. Until next time, keep pushing, keep grinding, and remember, the only bad workout is the one you didn't do. If you have any exercises you want me to cover or training methods you want more information on, just let me know.